What's up, Football Daily? How's it going? With Frank Lampard having been out of work for over 2 months now, let's take a look at 5 clubs he could potentially manage if jobs become available this summer. 5. Newcastle. If there's one Premier League club in serious need of a makeover right now, it's Newcastle. While Mike Ashley has, until now at least, stuck by Steve Bruce, the football on display at St James's Park has been predictably dull since he hired the former Sheffield Wednesday boss in 2019. And results have now taken a turn for the worse too. At the time of recording, the Magpies have won just 1 game in 8 and are the bookies' favourite to get relegated over Fulham and Brighton. Only West Brom and Sheffield United have lost more games than them as of the end of March, while they have generated fewer non-penalty expected goals than Burnley, despite having a striker in Callum Wilson who scored 10 and assisted 5. It's no wonder then that fans have been calling for Bruce's head in recent months, and even if Ashley continues to be overly patient, as he has been with previous failed managers, he may have little choice but to sack him if he takes the club down. If Bruce does go, supporters will hope whoever they replace him with will bring a more expansive style of play to the Toon, and Frank Lampard has proved in his previous 2 jobs that attractive football is a priority for him. At Derby County, he got a side which had relied heavily on goals from the outgoing Mate Vidra and introduced a high-pressing style which saw a range of players get scoring opportunities. By the end of the 2018-19 campaign, 4 different players had hit double figures for goals, compared with just 1 the season before. With a more front-foot approach like this at Newcastle, we'd expect to see higher output from Alan San-Maximan, Miguel Almiron and Joe Linton, all players who possess the fitness and work rate, and the experience in Joe Linton's case, to operate effectively in a high-pressing system. And while working for an owner like Mike Ashley isn't easy, especially when it comes to navigating the transfer market, Lampard would get something he didn't have at Chelsea: time. The Englishman could potentially afford to have a bad season or 2 as he tries to make his project work. This is something he'd no doubt welcome after he was cut short by Roman Abramovich, and the opportunity to manage a sizable historic club with a large passionate fan base would be an attractive one. For a man as ambitious as Lampard clearly is, the chance to restore his reputation by reviving such a troubled side would be hard to turn down. 4. Bournemouth. From a club famous for underachieving to one which has overachieved in recent years, Bournemouth's bubble finally burst in 2020, with the South Coast outfit falling out of the Premier League after a 5-year stay and bidding farewell to longtime manager Eddie Howe in the process. And while they may be a lot smaller in stature than Newcastle, there are reasons why they'd be an attractive option for Lampard. First of all, the Englishman would be taking over a more youthful squad, one with an average age of 25.8, the 10th youngest in the Championship. For comparison, Newcastle's average age of 27 ranks them as the joint 4th oldest in the Prem. And while the Magpies played a defensive brand of football even before Steve Bruce became manager, Bournemouth's rise under Howe was typified by a commitment to attacking, even if it led to accusations of naivety when results didn't go their way. And there are some promising players among the Cherries' ranks too. After a disappointing first 18 months at the Vitality, Dominic Solanke has come alive at centre forward, contributing to 15 goals in the league so far. David Brooks continues to struggle with injury but remains immensely talented, while 23-year-old centre-back Chris Metham possesses an excellent passing range. Following the sacking of Jason Tindall in February, Jonathan Woodgate was given a contract until the end of the season, but the fact he's won just half his games with a side which was pushing for automatic promotion in the first 3 months of the campaign suggests his tenure may be short-lived. And while Lampard was reportedly not interested in taking the Bournemouth job when it became available, he had only been recently sacked by Chelsea at that point and was likely in need of some reflection time, not to mention he was just weeks away from the birth of his 2nd child. If they came back in for him in the summer, he may be more tempted. But before we move on to our next suggestion, are you subscribed to Football Daily? And if not, why not? We put videos like this out every single day, so you really don't want to miss out. Go on, hit that subscribe button. 3. Valencia. A video like this wouldn't be complete without a rogue suggestion, and so here it is. The last time an Englishman took charge of Valencia, it was a short-lived disaster, but Lampard of course has far more credentials than Gary Neville did. Nevertheless, the Spanish club has been in crisis for a good while under the ownership of Peter Lim, and taking such a job would certainly be a risky move. Losche were contesting the Champions League as recently as last season, but are currently set to finish in the bottom half of La Liga for the first time since 2017, with the club having failed to recover from the sacking of Marcelino 2 years ago and having sold a number of key players last summer. But like with Newcastle, the opportunity to reawaken a sleeping giant may appeal to Lampard, even if the odds are stacked against him. The promise of new investment would also make them a more attractive proposition, with Malaysian Prince Tunku Ismail Sultan Ibrahim having expressed an interest in becoming a major shareholder at the Mestalla. If this happened, it's reported he would take over from the unpopular Anil Murti as club president. And with Javi Gracia on bad terms with the club hierarchy and doing an incredibly mediocre job right now, there's a chance the manager's job will be vacant in the summer. Lampard would also have some very promising young players to work with on the Mediterranean coast. Yunus Musa and Kang In Lee are both highly regarded within the Spanish game and at 18 and 20 respectively are already fully fledged internationals. Carlos Soler, Gonzalo Guedes and Maxi Gomez meanwhile all have at least 2 years left on their contract, and so unless the club plans another mass clear out of stars, Lampard would still have a good core to build on. But what do you make of this suggestion? Could it work or would it be a disaster? Let us know down below. 2. Crystal Palace. Having been at the club since 2017, Roy Hodgson is Crystal Palace's longest serving manager since Steve Coppell, whose first and longest spell at Selhurst Park came to an end 28 years ago. But while he has drawn a lot of praise for keeping a technically limited side safe and relatively comfortable in the Premier League, there is also a sense his time in charge of his local club is coming to an end. If it does, it would represent an opportunity to Lampard. Hodgson's contract is up in the summer when he turns 74, and his safety-first brand of football has begun to grate on fans who see more potential in his side. They may have racked up a smaller net spend than any current Premier League club bar West Brom across the last 5 years, but despite investing in a number of promising and proven attackers in this time, they still remain over-reliant on Wilfried Zaha, who has contributed to over a third of their goals this season. Like at Newcastle, Lampard's task would be to get more productivity from elsewhere in the squad, and with forwards like Eberici Eza and Jean-Philippe Mateta at his disposal, this wouldn't be too much of a problem. Palace are also one of the biggest talent producers in England and last year began work on renovating their academy facilities, a project reportedly worth £20 million and due for completion this summer. Unlike Hodgson, who despite giving breaks to Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Tyrick Mitchell tends to rely a lot on experienced players, Frank Lampard has given chances to lots of youngsters in his short career, with Mason Mount his biggest success story to date. And with a youth side which is currently bossing the under-18s Premier League, leading the Southern Division above the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea and Spurs, there are a number of top quality talents who could break into the first team in the coming years. There would no doubt need to be an overhaul of the current squad, but the conditions would be favourable for Lampard to build a long-lasting project in South London. 1. Celtic. Arguably the biggest club Frank Lampard has been linked with since packing his bags at Cobham has been Celtic, a club which has very much been in crisis mode this season. The Glasgow outfit are currently 20 points behind newly crowned Scottish champions Rangers, having been 13 points ahead of them when the previous season was curtailed, seeing their dream of an unprecedented 10th title in a row go up in smoke and manager Neil Lennon resign. And having seen their old firm rivals gamble of hiring the inexperienced Steven Gerrard in 2018 pay off handsomely, rumours are circulating that they could try and tempt his former England teammate to Parkhead, with former Scotland boss Alex McLeish even saying he's heard rumours that Lampard has met with Celtic's board of directors. With captain Scott Brown now set to leave for Aberdeen after 14 years, the boys are very much at a crossroads, and by bringing in a legendary figure like Lampard, the Celtic hierarchy would no doubt hope he could have a galvanising effect on the players and fans in the same way Gerrard has at Ibrox. And let's face it, seeing the pair match up in the Old Firm derby would be a dream for any football fan, and would certainly bring more eyes to the Scottish Premiership. But romance aside, a club with the standing of Celtic is in line with Lampard's ambition, and contesting a league in which silverware is more easily attainable may appeal to him too. Not that he wouldn't face a tough task in grappling the title back from Rangers. There is also a rebuild to be done, with top scorer Odsonne Edouard set to leave this summer, and Lampard would no doubt relish the chance of reshaping the side in his image. What's more, he could attract bigger names to the club, although using his Chelsea connections to secure a loan move for midfield prodigy Billy Gilmour probably wouldn't work out in this instance given he was once a Rangers boy. And there is also a decent group of youngsters to work with right now. Greg Taylor, David Turnbull and Christopher Ayer, all 23 or under, rank among the club's top appearance makers this term, while 18-year-old Karamoko Dembele remains an incredibly exciting prospect. Seeing fans return to the 60,000-seater Celtic Park with Lampard in the dugout is a tantalising prospect. So those were our 5 suggestions for clubs Lampard could manage next, but which one do you reckon was the best shout, and do you have any of your own? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave us a like, and why not stick around on Football Daily by clicking on screen right now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.